Hello and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurin Sofia and my metric number is A197384. Today, me and my group members will be presenting our group's e-portfolio for teaching literature. You can access our published e-portfolio by clicking on the link below. Before we start with our literary devices, let me explain why literature is very important. Literature is more than just stories. It helps us think, feel, and understand the world better. Here's why it's important. The first one, it develops critical thinking. Reading literature makes us think deeply. It helps us analyze stories, understand different perspectives, and make thoughtful decisions. It shapes how we see the world and challenges our beliefs. The second one is literature builds empathy and emotional intelligence. Through literature, we experience different lives and emotions. This helps us connect with others and understand their feelings. The British Council says literature helps students develop a strong sense of self and moral understanding. Next, literature promotes cultural awareness. Literature introduces us to different cultures and traditions. It broadens our perspective and promotes inclusivity. The National Council of Teachers of English says literature increases cultural understanding and encourages social engagement. The next one is improve language and communication skills. Reading helps us learn new words, improve comprehension, and develop better communication skills. Literature exposes us to different writing styles, making it easier to express our thoughts clearly. The last one, it encourages creativity and imagination. Literature sparks creativity by helping us imagine new ideas and possibilities. It also improves problem-solving skills and helps us think beyond the ordinary. Literature helps us think, feel, and connect with the world. It sharpens our minds, deepens our understanding, and inspires creativity. That is all from me. Let's move on to our literary devices.
Assalamualaikum and a very good day to Dr. Hanita. My name is Nur Najwa and now I will be explaining the literary element of my choice, which is hyperbole, and I'll be explaining the activity and learning material that I came up with, and also explain this learning theory that my activity is based on. So without further ado, let's start. So when you go to our blog, you can click the link where there is literary elements and learning materials, and when you click that, there's a list of literary elements from our group. So the first one from the list is mine, which is hyperbole. So once you click it, this is what you see: a banner, which is hyperbole by Najwa, and then an illustration. So that is actually an illustration of a hyperbole, which is I'm so hungry I could eat a horse, and there's an illustration of a person who looks hungry who is about to eat a horse. We know that it's illogical, but that is hyperbole. So, what is hyperbole? Hyperbole is the use of exaggerated statements or figure of speech which are not meant to be taken literally, often used to create a dramatic effect, just like the illustration above. So, this type of overstatement is often used in literature or poetry to create emphasis, humor, irony, or to convey emotion. Using hyperbole can also help to convey a writer's meaning in a more deliberate way than using literal language. So, for example, I have given a sentence without hyperbole and with hyperbole. So, she waited at the bus stop for a period of time that was far longer than she expected. In fact, she waited for so long that it felt unnatural. So that is the sentence without hyperbole. So now we go to the sentence that I've inserted the hyperbole. So the sentence is she waited at the bus stop for an eternity. So even though there's a lot of differences now, with the use of hyperbole, the sentence is simple and it's not complex and it's actually shorter. We understand. So I think hyperbole is basically when it is a writer's way to give their writing more complexity but using less words, and those words completely capture the emotion, because whenever we have to wait for something it feels like forever when it's long, right? But we know logically it's not forever. So that's how we use hyperbole. Now let's move on to the activity that I came up with to teach hyperbole. So the activity I chose is a collaborative matching game and discussion. So this activity aims to enhance students' understanding of hyperbole by engaging them in an interactive matching task. Through peer collaboration, students will differentiate between hyperbolic and literal expressions, improving their comprehension and application of figurative language. So, the objectives of this activity is by the end of the activity, students will be able to identify the hyperbole in sentences and distinguish it from literal statements, explain the purpose of the hyperbole in emphasizing meaning within speech and writing, collaborate with peers to find correct matches and justify their choices, then apply their understanding by selecting and reflecting on their favorite hyperbolic statement. So this is the learning materials. The activity I call it Match Me Up using hyperbole task cards. So here you can see there's two types of cards. So the card that writes what does it really mean in the light colored is the hyperbolic statement, and the bright orange that writes it means is the literal statement of the hyperbolic statement. So how to use the Match Me Up hyperbole task cards. So, students, this game or this activity can be played individually, in pairings, or in groups. It all depends on the size of the class and the time availability of the class. So, the first step is the teacher has to distribute a card to each student, pair, or group, depending on the class, of course, and each of them receive either a hyperbole or a literal one, and then encourage them to find their matching partner. So, for instance, one card or one group or one pair or one student may get the card "I'm so hungry I could not eat a horse," which is the hyperbole statement, and another student would get the matching card, which is "I'm very hungry." So both of them, or each group or whatever, has to find their pairs of the hyperbolic statement and the literal meaning of it. So the next part is important too. The students have to jot down the completed matchups on their notes. And then the teacher has to collect and redistribute cards to repeat the activity as time allows. So this gives the students chances to get all the literal and all the hyperbolic statements that they have not found yet. And every time they jot down, they can also record for future use too. So to extend this activity, if wanted, let students pick their each favorite hyperbole statement from their notes and ask them why. So we know that they have recorded all the hyperbole and literal meanings that they have matched up. So they need to pick one, and the teacher would ask them to justify. So last but not least, let's move on to the learning theory that this activity is based on, which is the learning theory Social Constructivism by Vygotsky. So why? First one is active learning, constructivism. So in this activity, students engage in hands-on, meaningful interaction by matching hyperboles with their literal meanings, actively constructing their understanding of exaggeration in language. So next is the social interaction, Vygotsky's social constructivism. The activity encourages collaboration as students work in pairs or groups to find their matches, reinforcing learning through peer interaction. So next is scaffolding and zone of proximal development, ZPD. So the task provides a guided learning experience where students can help each other refine their understanding of hyperbole with support from peers or the teacher. So lastly, it's experiential learning, which is Kolb's learning cycle. By physically matching the cards and discussing their choices, students learn through experience, reflection, and application. So that is all from my part. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be passing to the next group member. Thank you.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurul Sofia, number matrix A197384. I'll be talking about symbolism. So what is symbolism? Symbolism is when objects, colors, or elements represent deep ideas or emotions. It helps stories feel more meaningful and makes us think about beyond what we see. Writers and filmmakers use symbolism to express ideas without directly stating them. It makes stories more interesting and allows different interpretations. Now let's look at some of the examples of symbolism. The first one is the tree. A tree often symbolizes life, growth, and strength. In stories, a strong tree can represent stability, while a dying tree might symbolize loss or change. Next, the color red. Red is a powerful symbol. It can mean love and passion, but also danger or anger. For example, a red rose might symbolize romance, while a red warning light signals danger. Another one is the hourglass. An hourglass represents time passing. It can remind us that time is running out or that change is inevitable. In movies, it is often used to create urgency. Now let's move on to the learning materials. I will explain about the activity where students will analyze symbolism in the movie Inside Out. In this activity, students will identify key symbols from the film, interpret their meanings, and discuss how they help convey emotions and themes. This will give them a deeper understanding of how symbolism enhances storytelling. Now I will talk about the objective. By the end of this activity, students will be able to recognize and identify symbols in media, specifically in Inside Out, interpret the deeper meanings of these symbols and how they relate to themes, emotions, and character development. And lastly, students will be able to collaborate in groups to share insights and learn from each other's interpretations. Now I will explain about the steps of the activity. Here's how the activity will work. The first step is students will be divided into a group of 4 or 5, and each group will receive a worksheet with images of key symbols from Inside Out, such as the memory ops, Bing Bong's wagon, and the islands of personality. And then they will match each symbol with its meaning using a word bank that will be provided at the top of the worksheet. After matching, each group will choose one symbol and write an explanation of how it represents an idea or emotion in the film on a mahjong paper. Finally, each group will present their findings to the class, explaining how the symbol adds depth to the film's message. This activity will help students see how symbolism is used in media to create deeper meaning, and by analyzing Inside Out, they will gain insight into how filmmakers use symbols to express emotions and themes in a powerful way. Now, let's look at the learning theories that support this activity. These theories explain how students learn best and why this activity is effective. The first one, we have constructivism by Piaget and Vygotsky. Constructivism suggests that learners build their own understanding by connecting new ideas to what they already know. Social interaction and reflection also help in this process. So, in this activity, students actively think about the symbols in Inside Out and connect them to their own knowledge of emotions and storytelling. By matching symbols to their meanings and discussing their ideas, they are constructing their own understanding. The group discussion also helps refine their thoughts by exposing them to different perspectives. The next one is second language acquisition, SLA. It focuses on how people learn language through interaction and meaningful content. This activity helps students practice language in a natural way. By analyzing these symbols in Inside Out, they use words related to emotions, storytelling, and film analysis. They express their ideas both in writing and discussion, which strengthens their language skills. Since they are communicating real ideas, it makes learning more engaging and effective. The last one, we have social learning theory by Bandura. Social learning theory states that people learn by observing, imitating, and interacting with others. In this activity, the group discussion allows students to share their ideas and learn from each other. Hearing different perspectives helps them develop a deeper understanding of symbolism. It also gives them the chance to observe and practice critical thinking skills together. So, all of these theories show why this activity is effective. It encourages active learning, meaningful language use, and collaboration, all of which will help students engage with the topic in a deeper way. That is all from me for symbolism. Thank you.
And hi, my name is Muhammad Isfar bin Yusuf, and so for this part, I will be explaining about the literary device that I choose, which is imagery. So basically, what is imagery? Imagery is a literary device that takes the form of a descriptive passage with which an author describes scenes, emotions, and feelings in order to bring to life for readers. So it uses sensory details that will appeal to your five senses, which are sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. And it is to bring the narrative to life and make it more immersive. So there are a few examples here. So the first one being sense of sight. So the example goes, the golden sunlight spill over the horizon, turning the waves into glittering diamonds. Second one is sense of sound. The cries of seagulls echoed above the rhythmic crash of waves on the shore. And the last one is sense of smell. So the salty sea breeze carried the faint scent of sunscreen and coconut. So basically, these are the examples of imagery, and I will be explaining more about the learning activities as well as the learning theories in the next part. Thank you. Now, we will explore how imagery enhance storytelling through interactive writing. So basically, these activities will help us to identify sensory details in a text and apply them to our own writing and to create vivid and engaging descriptions. So the purpose of this activity is basically to help students understand how imagery and also how imagery can improve storytelling. And by identifying sensory details in a literature text, students will learn to incorporate these elements into their own writing to make it more descriptive and immersive. And the objectives for this activity is by the end of the activity, students will be able to identify and analyze examples of imagery in a literary text and categorize these examples based on the five senses, which are sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. It will also explain how imagery enhances the reader's experience by making the text more vivid. And this part is about the steps of the activity. So basically, first, students will analyze a passage, poem, or anything that is rich in imagery, and then they will highlight or underline examples of imagery in the text. Then they will organize these examples into a 5-sense table to categorize them based on sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. So the second one is the second step is the descriptive writing. So using the imagery hunt as inspiration, they will write a paragraph describing their favorite place, such as a park, festival, or beach. And their writing should include sensory details that appeal to at least three senses to create a vivid and engaging description. And step 3 is peer review and also sharing. So basically, they will pair up with a partner and share their descriptive writing, and their task is to identify and label the types of imagery used in each other's work, and explaining why specific lines are examples of visual, auditory, or other types of imagery. And finally, a few volunteers will be invited to share their work with the class. Are the learning theory part. So basically, there are a few things that Pavio suggests. The first one being dual imagery being dual processing channels. So basically, Pavio suggests that we learn better when we use both spoken language and visual representation together. So this dual processing method enhances our ability to absorb and retain information. And next one is enhanced memory and also comprehension. So basically, by combining text with sensory experiences such as sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste, our understanding of descriptive writing will improve, and it will engage multiple senses and also strengthen our memory and also comprehension. The third one is application in writing and also literature. So students can gain deeper insights into writing and also literature analysis when imagery is used to support explanation. And this method makes learning more effective and engaging. And last but not least is multisensory learning. So basically, using visual aids and interactive methods alongside written text will benefit all type of learners, and it caters to different learning styles and making education more inclusive and effective.
So, hello everyone. Welcome to the last part of the presentation. My name is Josh, and I'll be talking about metaphors. So, first of all, what is a metaphor? Well, a metaphor is a figure of speech that compares two unrelated things by suggesting one is the other. So, unlike simile, it doesn't use like or as to compare, but instead it suggests one is the other. This implies comparison, treats the connection as literal, creating a vivid imagery or deeper meaning. So, metaphor basically it helps convey abstract ideas in relatable, imaginative ways, making communication more engaging and also impactful. So there are several examples of metaphor that I can give, like the ones suggested here, like hit the sack, which means going to bed, to go to bed or going to bed. A dime a dozen, a way of describing something plentiful, which in the context of the picture is the treasure behind, and also hit the books, which is to study very in which is to study, and yeah, these are just a few of the examples of metaphors that I've heard of before. There's also like a heart of gold, which is really interesting, which is someone who's very kind and whatnot. So yeah, that's a few examples of metaphors and what metaphor is. Next, we'll be moving on to learning materials, and for metaphors, I have a class activity which is called Metaphor Melody, decoding the lyrics. So this activity basically uses song lyrics to help students understand and analyze metaphors. It is a very engaging, relevant, and it connects classroom learning to students' everyday experience, which is great. So the objective is by the end of the activity, basically we want students to be able to help develop a deeper understanding of metaphors by analyzing their use in music or song lyrics, and this in turn will enhance their critical thinking, interpretive skills, and also creative expression through active engagement with figurative language. So for the preparation part, of course you have to select the songs. You'd want to choose a song with clear and rich metaphors. I have three examples here, which is Firework by Katy Perry, Rolling in the Deep by Adele, and also Boulevard of Broken Dreams, my favorite, by Green Day. All of these songs have like really rich metaphors. Um, like Firework, do you ever feel like a plastic bag? Rolling in the Deep, it has, you had my hand inside your, you had your, you had your, you had my heart inside your hand. And then also Boulevard of Broken Dreams, I walk a lonely road. That is a metaphor. So it's a good thing. But there are of course other songs I think that have metaphors. I think metaphors are a prevalent thing in music. So yeah, those are the three examples that I can give. And then of course you have to prepare a worksheet with guided questions. I have a simple guided question here, like what is the metaphor, what is being compared, and what emotion or imagery does it create. And also the last one is how does it contribute to the song's overall message or theme. And then I've made an example of the worksheet, which I'll show on the next slide. Next is the execution. So there's several steps to this activity. First step is the introduction, where you'll briefly explain what a metaphor is, and provide examples that might give an idea of what a metaphor is. And once the student have an idea of what metaphors are, you can ask students why metaphor might be used in songs. For example, it could be to express emotions or create some imagery for the listeners. So that's for step one. For step two is, of course, to listen to song. And I forgot to mention, do prepare like a speaker or some kind of device in order to play the songs very clearly for the students to listen to. So of course you'd play the selected songs for the class and also distribute the lyrics, and to encourage students to highlight or underline phrases that they think are metaphors. And then step three would be dividing the students into small groups and then assigning each group a metaphor from the songs. And of course you provide them the worksheet which has the lyrics as well, and then of course the guided questions. And then next would be the class discussion, where each group will present their findings to the class, and then they'll discuss how different metaphors evoke different emotions or meanings. And of course, step 5, which is an optional step, is the creative extension, which is you ask students to write their own metaphor-filled stanza for a song or on a similar theme like self-discovery or maybe loneliness, etc., etc. And then of course volunteers can share their work with the class. So some supporting theories on this activity. One is flow theory by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. So basically, flow theory is described as a mental state in which an individual are fully immersed in an activity and experiencing deep focus and enjoyment and intrinsic motivation. This state occurs when there's a balance between the challenge of the task and the learner's skill level. Too easy, and if it's too easy, then they become bored. But if it's too difficult, then they become frustrated. So in a state of flow, learners are able. When learners are highly engaged, they lose track of time and experience a sense of accomplishment as they progress. So it's like a smooth flow where they can just learn and enjoy the learning process. So for this activity, it's designed to create an optimal learning experience, by balancing challenge, and also enjoyment. Interpreting metaphors in a song lyric, it requires, of course, critical thinking, making it intellectually stimulating, but the use of familiar and enjoyable music ensures the task remains accessible and engaging. This balance helps students to stay focused and motivated rather than feeling overwhelmed or disinterested. And furthermore, the optional creative writing tasks, the last step, the step 5, it supports flow theory by allowing advanced learners to explore metaphors at a deeper level by creating their own metaphors, and then they metaphors for lyrics. They apply their understanding in a personal and meaning way, which keeps them even more engaged in the learning process, which is really good. Next is the experimental learning theory by Club, which emphasizes learning as a continuous cycle of experience, reflection, conceptualization, and also experimentation. Rather than passively receiving information, Learners actively, engage with concepts, reflect on their experience, and form, abstract ideas, and apply their knowledge in practical situations. This hands-on approach makes learning more meaningful as students develop a deeper understanding through direct experience and active participation. And here's the outline of the four stages of learning by club, which is one is concrete experience, engaging in a real or stimulated experience, reflective observation, which is observing and analyzing the experience, abstract conceptualization, where learners or students would form theories and generalization based on reflection, and active experimentation, where they apply the new knowledge in different situations. So basically, this cycle ensures that learners do not just memorize information, but also internalize it through personal engagement and practice. So in the context of the activity, this activity really aligns perfectly with club's model by immersing students in a structured learning cycle. So again, concrete experience, in the context of the activity, students will listen to a song, engaging both their emotions and senses while following along with the lyrics. This creates an immediate and relatable experience. And then and then the next stage is reflective observation, where then students would identify metaphors within the lyrics and discuss their meanings, reflecting on how these comparisons create imagery and emotions in the song. Then the next step would be abstract conceptualization, which is through the discussion and analysis, students connect their observation to the broader literary concepts of metaphor, understanding their role in communication and also storytelling. And then the last stage, which is active experimentation, happens through the optional creative writing task, which allows students to apply their learning by crafting their own metaphor-rich lyrics, and enforcing their understanding in a creative and personal way. So by following this cycle, students just move beyond just passive learning and develop a deeper and more personal connection to metaphors. This active, reflective, and hands-on approach makes learning more memorable, meaningful, and effective. That is all from our group. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see everyone in the next video. Thank you.